So good afternoon also on my behalf. My name is Slavtcho Neykov. I am honored to be here, and thank you very much to Dr. Slavtcho and to the Slovenian Chamber of Commerce for inviting me and also for honoring me with the possibility to co-moderate this exciting panel of so many speakers. And before we start, I just want to focus on one procedural issue. The time is certainly limited. I know that the organizers will be happy to circulate your presentation, so my request is that you focus mostly on the key topics of your speech, and afterwards to have more time for the debate, which, as during the previous session, proved to be the most important part of our gathering. With these procedural words, I would like now to focus a little bit on the substance part from my side. This morning we went to the moon at the beginning. I think that now it's time to look at the dark side of the moon in a little bit more concrete terms, because the reality in the energy sector developments turns to be fascinating, both in positive and in negative manner. And I'm, from this point of view, very glad to have heard from His Excellency the State Secretary, Mr. Kumar, the word battle. Because really, in some terms, it is a battlefield. It is a battlefield not only from point of view of implementation, it is a battlefield also from point of view of making investments, of defending business. It's a battlefield which has also one very specific dimension, and particularly in Southeastern Europe, this is the social dimension. And I hope that we shall be able to debate with the distinguished panel on all these topics. So from my side, having some experience in on regional level as director of the Energy Community Secretariat for 7 years, I think that there are three words which might be the focus of our debate today, looking from the dark side of the things. First is realism, second is pragmatism, and third, with the hope of all the panelists and with all of you, I hope we shall find some space for optimism. Let me back up a little bit the realistic element, the realistic emphasis. If we look at the energy developments on regional level, and I mean Southeastern Europe, which normally in our minds we split from the European Union, which is wrong, because there are 7 involved EU member states in the region. What we will see is that the political integration processes are much more advanced than the legal and the factual implementation when it comes to energy. What I mean is that on political level, all non-EU member states have already committed to implement the EU energy policy on legally binding basis. That is quasi, that is de facto, these non-EU member states in the region are quasi-EU members when it comes to energy. We share on legally binding basis the same goals, the same objectives. We implement the same laws. That is, we have to implement the same laws. But the reality is that this is only on paper, because when it comes to implementation, there are problems on the implementation side within the EU. If you look at the number of infringement procedures when it comes to energy, is growing, not to mention the non-EU member states. When it comes to reality, what we note is increase of prices of energy. When we look at the reality, we see enormous amounts of social problems. Let me just recall that in Bulgaria, the government fell in February due to protests which started with, which were boosted by the electricity prices. And this is all linked to one fact which I want to particularly emphasize. I myself am dealing with energy since 1992, and when I look back, all the forecasts which I've read since then turned to be completely wrong. All forecasts. And I think this is not only for Bulgaria, I think this is kind of a trend in this aspect. And therefore, we should have not been surprised by the fact that there have been quite a lot substantial crises, not only in the sphere of gas, which we had two for the last 7 years, in 2006 and 2009, but in broader terms. So this is about realism, about pragmatism. I think that there is one major player which is strongly underestimated or abused when it comes to energy policy matters, and this is the industry, this is the business. In this aspect, I want to quote, I put it on paper not to mess it, a title of an article in the European Energy Review, the EU electricity and gas industry, dash, why are we in this mess and what can be done? The second thing which I want to quote to you is a statement by the chief executive officers of 8 utilities, which was done very recently towards the European Parliament, which says, the current lack of visibility on energy policies and regulatory uncertainty will inevitably lead to an absence of energy investment with negative effects on security of supply, employment, and reactivation of the European economy. Now, if we link all these things, I think that we have to pay, for sure, more attention to what the business says. And I fully agree with Marco Sencher, who said this morning that it is the market, it is the regulator, but somebody has to be regulated. And it's the business who has to play a very active role in this direction. Now, what happens in Southeastern Europe, unfortunately, is that there are already cases when the business is leaving, not only not coming, but it is leaving. Let me recall ČEZ leaving Albania. Let me recall that some key investors like EVN, ČEZ, Energopro, E.ON have substantial problems even in EU member states. So what I mean is that the business is the one which has to be strongly promoted and strongly listened to. You're most welcome to disagree, particularly those from the government and from the regulators, but this is what I think. The other thing which I want to emphasize when it comes to pragmatism is the absolute necessity to reassess the strategic approach. And this is on national level, this is on regional level, and this is for sure on EU level. I re-emphasize the importance of the EU energy policy because, as I said, the non-EU member states aim at implementing this policy. Therefore, the proper assessment and developments on EU level have really to be based on very strong analysis. And the last point when it comes to pragmatism, it was mentioned in the first session, is the role of interconnections. With all aspects, including who will finance it, where the money is going to come from, when, how does the development of renewables influence this process, and all that. Now, on optimism, I'm not going to focus now because I hope that you all will contribute to the optimistic part. Now, with these introductory words from my side, I now look at the order of speakers, the way it has been provided by the organizers. I don't see Professor Peter Kodzielak. Yes. As his topic was on the regional energy issues, I assume you're going to be happy with what I said as a starter, as an appetizer, but of course all the speakers are most welcome to continue. And in that case, I now would like to pass the floor to Professor Max Bauder to talk about renewables, recalling once again not only the debate which we had this morning concerning renewables, but recalling the issue that, in fact, renewables was one of the hiccups for the problems which we had in Bulgaria, where instead of the 300 megawatts plant capacities, we have more than 1,000 now. And this caused substantial mess in the system. I hope you don't have